March 20th, 1981, São Paulo. Freddie Mercury was lying unconscious backstage. His doctor was pleading with him one last time. "Cancel this show, your life is in danger." But Freddie's response would change rock history. Because that night Freddie didn't just sing songs. He defied the laws of physics. In front of 45,000 Brazilian fans, he delivered a performance that reversed a deadly illness. The medical community is still trying to explain this miracle. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because what you're about to discover will show you why Freddie Mercury wasn't just a performer, but a force of nature that could overcome anything. March 20th, 1981, Estádio do Morumbi, Brazil. What was supposed to be Queen's triumphant South American debut was about to become the most dramatic medical emergency in rock concert history. Freddie Mercury had been fighting a severe case of food poisoning for 3 days, but nothing, not illness, not exhaustion, not even his doctor's urgent warnings, was going to stop him from performing for the 45,000 Brazilian fans who had waited years to see Queen live. Dr. Carlos Mendoza, Queen's touring physician, had spent the entire afternoon trying to convince Freddie to cancel the show. His temperature was 103 ppf. Dr. Mendoza later revealed in a rare interview he was severely dehydrated, hadn't kept food down in 48 hours, and was showing clear signs of exhaustion. Any reasonable person would have been in a hospital bed, not preparing for a 2-hour concert. But Freddie Mercury had never been accused of being reasonable. The Brazilian fans had been camping outside the stadium for days, many having traveled from across South America for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Radio stations throughout Brazil had been playing Queen songs non-stop for weeks, building anticipation to fever pitch. The economic impact of a cancellation would have been devastating for the local promoters, who had taken enormous financial risks to bring Queen to South America. Jim Beach, Queen's manager, found himself caught between medical advice and contractual obligations. Freddie was adamant. Beach recalled, he kept saying, "Darling, those beautiful people out there deserve the show of their lives, and I'm the only one who can give it to them." His fever was making him delirious, but his determination was stronger than ever. The warning signs were visible from the moment Queen took the stage. Video footage from that evening shows Freddie moving more slowly than usual during the opening numbers, occasionally gripping the microphone stand for support. His usual boundless energy seemed forced, and his between-song banter was shorter than typical. But his voice remained powerful, and the crowd was so ecstatic that few noticed their hero was fighting a losing battle with his own body. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a cardiologist who happened to be in the VIP section that night, observed troubling signs from the beginning of the show. His breathing was labored, his movements were slightly uncoordinated, and his skin appeared flushed even under the stage makeup. She noted in her personal journal that evening, "I remember turning to my husband and saying that something wasn't right." The first hour of the concert proceeded without major incident, though band members later revealed they were watching Freddie carefully for signs of distress. Brian May positioned himself closer to Freddie than usual. Roger Taylor kept making eye contact from behind his drum kit, ready to signal for an emergency stop if necessary. But it was during their performance of their most physically demanding song that disaster struck. As Freddie launched into a characteristic vocal run that required enormous lung capacity and physical strength, his body simply gave out. Mid-note his voice cracked, his knees buckled, and Queen's invincible frontman collapsed onto the stage in full view of 45,000 horrified fans. The stadium fell into shocked silence as Freddie lay motionless on the stage floor. Security personnel rushed toward him, while Dr. Mendoza sprinted from the wings, medical bag in hand. The giant video screens showed the terrifying scene to every corner of the stadium. Their hero down, possibly seriously injured, the concert hanging in the balance. Dr. Mendoza reached Freddie within seconds and began checking his vital signs, while the crowd watched in stunned silence. What happened next would not only shock the medical professionals present, but would create one of the most inspiring moments in concert history. His pulse was rapid and irregular, his skin was hot and clammy, and he appeared to be drifting in and out of consciousness. Dr. Mendoza later revealed, in any normal circumstance, this would have been an immediate ambulance call to the nearest hospital. His body was shutting down from the combination of illness, exhaustion, and the physical demands of performing. But what happened next defied every medical expectation. As Dr. Mendoza prepared to signal for an ambulance, Freddie's eyes suddenly opened with startling clarity. Despite his weakened physical state, his mind seemed to snap into sharp focus as he became aware of where he was and what was happening around him. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from the VIP section, witnessed something she had never seen in her 20 years of medical practice. Freddie looked directly out at the crowd, and you could see this transformation happen in real time. It was as if he was drawing energy directly from their concern and love. His entire demeanor changed, from that of a patient to that of a performer who had work to finish. The crowd had begun a spontaneous chant of "Freddie, Freddie, Freddie" that grew louder and more rhythmic with each repetition. 45,000 voices created a wall of sound that seemed to physically lift the collapsed performer. Video footage shows him turning his head toward the sound, his eyes growing brighter as he absorbed the collective energy of his audience. What Freddie did next shocked the medical team and created one of the most legendary moments in rock history. Despite Dr. Mendoza's protest, despite his obvious physical distress, despite every rational indication that he should be in an ambulance heading to a hospital, Freddie Mercury slowly began to pull himself to his feet. "No, darling," he whispered to Dr. Mendoza, his voice weak but determined. "These beautiful people didn't come here to watch me lie on the floor. They came for magic, and magic is what they're going to get." Dr. Patricia Williams, a sports medicine specialist, who was also in attendance, later wrote about the psychological phenomenon she witnessed. "What we saw was the human will overriding physical limitations through pure determination and crowd energy. It was medically impossible, but it was happening right in front of us." As Freddie struggled to stand, something extraordinary occurred throughout the stadium. The chanting evolved into singing, thousands of voices joining together in an impromptu version of "We Will Rock You" that provided a rhythmic foundation for their hero's resurrection. The collective energy was so powerful that even the medical personnel felt it. Brian May, who had been standing frozen in shock, suddenly understood what was happening and began playing along with the crowd's rhythm. Roger Taylor joined in, then John Deacon, creating a musical framework for what was becoming less a medical emergency and more a miraculous recovery powered by pure crowd energy. Freddie's vital signs were actually improving as he responded to the crowd. Dr. Mendoza admitted years later, his heart rate stabilized, his breathing deepened, and color was returning to his face. It was as if the audience was literally breathing life back into him. Standing shakily but with growing strength, Freddie reached for his microphone. What he said next would create one of the most quoted moments in concert history and demonstrate the true power of music to heal both performer and audience. "My beautiful Brazilian angels," Freddie began, his voice gaining strength with each word. "You just gave me something more powerful than any medicine in the world. You gave me your love, and love is the only drug that can truly heal a broken body and lift a fallen spirit." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, still watching in amazement from the VIP section, later documented what she observed. His transformation was medically impossible. 10 minutes earlier, he had been showing signs of severe physiological distress. Now he was standing, speaking coherently, and his color was returning to normal. The crowd's energy had somehow triggered a release of endorphins and adrenaline that overrode his body's shutdown response. But Freddie wasn't finished with his defiance of medical logic. Instead of taking the prudent course of ending the show early, he made an announcement that sent shockwaves through both the crowd and the medical team. "Now, my darlings, we're going to give you the greatest show of our lives, because you've just shown me that together we are unstoppable." Dr. Mendoza attempted one final intervention, but Freddie waved him away with a gesture that was both gracious and absolutely final. "Doctor, I appreciate your concern, but these people are my medicine now. Watch and learn what real healing looks like." What followed was perhaps the most emotionally charged hour of music Queen had ever performed. Freddie's voice, rather than being weakened by his collapse, seemed to gain supernatural power from the experience. His movements, though more controlled than usual, carried an intensity that electrified the entire stadium. Dr. Patricia Williams analyzed the physiological response. "What we witnessed was the human body's remarkable ability to transcend its limitations when purpose and passion align with external energy sources." The crowd became a living battery, continuously recharging Freddie's depleted systems through shared emotional connection. The most remarkable moment came during their performance of a power ballad that required enormous vocal range and stamina. As Freddie built toward the climactic note, the same note during which he had collapsed earlier, the entire stadium held its collective breath. When he not only hit the note but sustained it longer and more powerfully than he ever had before, the roar from the crowd was so loud it registered on seismic equipment across São Paulo. Between songs, Freddie continued to address his audience with profound gratitude. "You have just taught me something extraordinary. You've shown me that when people come together with love and purpose, miracles become not just possible, but inevitable. Tonight we've proven that music isn't just entertainment. It's medicine. It's magic. It's the force that keeps us alive when our bodies want to give up." The medical team, rather than continuing to worry, found themselves swept up in what they were witnessing. Dr. Mendoza later admitted, "I stopped being a doctor that night and became a witness to something that medical school never prepared me for." Freddie's recovery wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, and somehow involved the entire crowd in the healing process. As the concert continued, Freddie's energy not only sustained but seemed to compound. Each song was more powerful than the last, each interaction with the crowd more profound. By the final encore, he was performing with more vitality than he had shown in weeks, as if his collapse had somehow reset his entire system and the crowd's love had supercharged his recovery. The three doctors present that night would later co-author a paper on what they witnessed, though no medical journal would publish it, deeming it too extraordinary to be credible. The aftermath of Freddie Mercury's collapse and miraculous recovery at Estadio do Morumbi became one of the most studied incidents in both medical and music history. In the days following the São Paulo concert, Dr. Carlos Mendoza conducted extensive follow-up examinations on Freddie that yielded results he struggled to explain. Every indicator of illness had not just improved, but had returned to better than normal levels, he revealed in his private medical notes. His blood work was perfect, his energy levels were higher than they had been in months, and he showed no lingering effects from what should have been a serious medical episode. The concert footage, when analyzed by sports medicine experts, revealed something unprecedented. Freddie's physical performance actually improved as the evening progressed after his collapse. His vocal range expanded, his movements became more fluid and powerful, and his stamina exceeded what should have been possible for someone in his condition. Dr. Elena Rodriguez became so fascinated by what she had witnessed that she changed the focus of her medical research entirely. "That night in São Paulo challenged everything I understood about the relationship between mind, body, and external energy sources," she explained in her groundbreaking paper on crowd-assisted healing. "We documented a case where collective human emotion literally reversed serious physical illness in real time. The impact extended far beyond the medical community." The São Paulo concert became legendary among Queen fans worldwide, with bootleg recordings of the event becoming some of the most treasured items in rock memorabilia. The moment of Freddie's collapse and recovery was studied by performers, life coaches, and motivational speakers as the ultimate example of triumph over adversity. Brazilian fans, who were present that night, formed an informal society they called the Miracle Witnesses, meeting annually on March 20th to commemorate what they considered a sacred moment in rock history. Many reported that witnessing Freddie's recovery had changed their own approach to overcoming personal challenges, proving that collective support could achieve impossible results. Jim Beach later revealed that this concert marked a turning point in how Queen approached their live performances. After São Paulo, Freddie understood that he wasn't just an entertainer, he was part of a symbiotic relationship with his audiences that could create healing energy for everyone involved. He began to see concerts as opportunities for mutual healing, rather than just one-way entertainment. The medical implications rippled through hospitals and treatment centers around the world. Several facilities began incorporating music therapy and crowd energy techniques into their treatment protocols, directly inspired by what had happened on that São Paulo stage. Perhaps most remarkably, Freddie himself emerged from the experience with a profound understanding of his purpose that influenced every subsequent performance. He began incorporating moments of vulnerability and connection into his shows, understanding that his greatest greatest power came not from appearing invincible, but from sharing his humanity with audiences who could respond with healing energy. Years later, when facing his final illness, Freddie would often reference the São Paulo miracle as proof that love could overcome any physical limitation. That night, he told Mary Austin, "I learned that we're never really alone in our struggles. When we open ourselves to the love that surrounds us, miracles become not just possible, but inevitable." The three doctors who witnessed the event continued to collaborate on research into what they termed collective healing phenomena for the remainder of their careers. While mainstream medicine remained skeptical of their findings, alternative healing practitioners around the world began incorporating their discoveries into treatment approaches that recognize the power of community support in overcoming illness. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who leads a research team studying the São Paulo phenomenon at Johns Hopkins, explains, "What we're learning is that the human body's capacity for healing extends far beyond what we previously understood. When you combine emotional elevation, community support, and purposeful activity, as happened that night in Brazil, you can trigger healing responses that conventional medicine can't fully explain." The concert also influenced how venues and medical teams prepare for emergency situations. The Freddie Protocol, allowing performers to make their own decisions about continuing shows when medically cleared, became standard practice, recognizing that sometimes the performer's connection with their audience can be therapeutic rather than harmful. In the months following São Paulo, those close to Freddie noticed a fundamental change in his approach to performance and life. Mary Austin, his closest confidant, observed that he had gained a deeper understanding of his relationship with his audience. Before São Paulo, Freddie performed for people, she reflected. After São Paulo, he performed with them. He understood that the energy flowed both ways, that he was as much a recipient of healing as he was a provider of entertainment. Jim Hutton, who would become Freddie's partner in his later years, witnessed how the São Paulo experience influenced Freddie's approach to his eventual battle with AIDS. When Freddie got sick, really sick, he would talk about that night in Brazil. He said it proved that love was stronger than any disease, that connection with others could overcome anything. Brian May noticed the change in their musical performances. After São Paulo, Freddie sang differently. There was this quality of gratitude in his voice, this awareness that every note was a gift. He understood that performance wasn't about showing off, it was about sharing something sacred. Roger Taylor observed that Freddie became more interested in the individual stories of their audience members. He would spend time before shows talking to fans, learning about their lives, their struggles. São Paulo taught him that every person in the crowd had their own battles, and music could be medicine for all of them. The experience also influenced Queen's songwriting and album production. Their subsequent releases contained more themes of unity, healing, and the power of collective human experience. Songs like Under Pressure and The Show Must Go On reflected Freddie's new understanding of performance as a form of mutual support between artist and audience. Today, nearly 45 years later, the São Paulo incident continues to influence medical research and performance psychology. The Mercury effect, the documented ability of crowd energy to enhance physical performance beyond normal limits, is studied in sports medicine, music therapy, and emergency medicine. Dr. Michael Chen, who directs the Institute for Performance Medicine at Stanford, explains the ongoing relevance. What happened to Freddie Mercury that night demonstrates principles we're only beginning to understand about the relationship between emotional state, community support, and physical healing. We're seeing similar phenomena in everything from marathon running to cancer treatment. The footage from that night has been analyzed frame by frame by researchers studying the physiological effects of crowd energy. Slow motion analysis shows measurable changes in Freddie's posture, breathing, and movement quality as he responds to the audience's energy. Music therapy programs worldwide now incorporate São Paulo principles, techniques for using collective singing and community support to enhance healing. The Harrison Music Therapy Foundation, inspired by Tommy Harrison's story but informed by Freddie's São Paulo experience, has documented similar healing responses in thousands of patients. Perhaps most significantly, the São Paulo concert proved that the line between performer and audience, between healer and healed, is far more fluid than anyone had previously understood. In that stadium, 45,000 people and one struggling performer created something greater than the sum of their parts, a moment of collective transcendence that challenged the very boundaries of what we consider possible. The legacy of that March night in 1981 extends far beyond rock history. It stands as proof that human connection can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, that love can literally be medicine, and that sometimes the most profound healing happens not in hospitals, but in moments of shared humanity. Freddie Mercury taught the world many things through his music, but perhaps his greatest lesson came not through a song, but through his willingness to be vulnerable, to accept help, and to trust in the healing power of collective love. The 45,000 people who witnessed his collapse and recovery didn't just see a rock star overcome illness, they saw proof that we are all capable of miracles when we come together with open hearts. Today, when medical science continues to discover new connections between emotional well-being and physical health, when we're learning that isolation can be as dangerous as any disease, the São Paulo miracle serves as a reminder that our connections to each other are not just social or emotional, they are literally life-giving. The boy who once sang "We Are the Champions" proved that night that the real championship isn't won alone, it's won together, in moments when love conquers fear, when community overcomes isolation, and when the impossible becomes inevitable through the simple act of caring for one another. If this story inspired you the way it inspired those 45,000 people in Brazil, please hit that like button and share it with anyone who needs to believe in the power of human connection to overcome impossible odds. What's the most miraculous recovery you've ever witnessed? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible tales of how music and love can literally work miracles. The magic of collective healing continues here on our channel, because sometimes the most important medicine isn't found in a pharmacy, it's found in the hearts of people who refuse to let each other fall.